Salutations, Stufos. This is your fabulous leader, the Queen of Shade, coming at you with another special presentation. I am truly enjoying being able to talk to you guys, the people that uplift me and I uplift them and inspire me, and they say that I inspire them. And having said this, I have someone that you need to meet. You may not know why, but you will before the end of this hour's conversation. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Calvin Coates.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi. My first thought was we've known each other a really long time, but I have no idea how long.
Get this. It was 2008.
Ah,
It
right.
was 2008. I met you on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you were an avid supporter. And you are still an avid supporter today.
Absolutely.
Which is why I brought you on here. So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But tell everybody where you're from, Calvin.
Well, I'm currently in San Francisco, California, although I had episodes of living in Atlanta for 7 years, and I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for a few years.
Wow.
But most of my life has been in California.
So you're a California boy.
Mostly, yeah.
Wow, West Coast.
West Coast.
What is it about California that made you go back? Because to leave Atlanta, you like, look, I'm getting out of Arizona, I'm getting out of Atlanta, I'm going back to Cali.
It was 100% job related.
Okay, yeah. I thought it might have been the weather.
I had an opportunity that I couldn't say no to. So
you know what? I think we spoke about that too around that time. I think we did speak about you saying, yeah, I got a job opportunity, I'm going back. Yeah, I think we did. What's so crazy about you is that, and that I love it, is that you know quite a few of us. Us. And I say that because what I mean is you uplift so many young Black men. It is so beautiful to behold. You know everybody. I just was on your page as I was trying to get a photo for the thumbnail of this video for YouTube and for my website. And I saw you with Trav and I'm like, oh, he knows Trav, the wordsmith. Like, you know everybody. And you're so, Calvin, you're so uplifting. You're going to find out why I brought you on here because I can't wait to tell you. But I'm dragging it.
All right. It's not just because I noticed we match unintentionally because we had.
Yeah. One side of you, one side of me. Yes. So no, I'm just gonna have to jump right into it. No, what it was is that you have always been someone who was never afraid to share your knowledge, your expertise, what you have experienced, where you have lived. And I find that that was a breath of fresh air, especially to me around 2008, 2009, just getting into entertainment. Entertainment was not what I woke up one day and said I wanted to do. I came to entertainment by default. It was kind of like, okay, I didn't get my degree because of mental illness. I was medically withdrawn from school. What am I going to do? Well, I have this talent. My family said, you might as well use what you have. You know, so I started doing that. And Calvin, I met you right at the beginning of that. And you supported me through every cover, everything I sang. And you can tell the people I sang a lot of good songs on YouTube. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it just having you there was really a breath of fresh air. But what really made the impression on me is that you taught me something. So fast forward, yeah. So fast forward from 2008 when we met to 2013 when I decided to do music. And I was trying to find my way. I hadn't yet started researching the way that I did after we spoke and got put together this whole Bible of music entertainment that's 636 pages. That's the kind of research paper I had to end up doing. But you taught me something. You introduced me to your partner too at that time, your buddy. What happened was you shared with me that once upon a time, you had a record label. And you gave me the ins and outs of that record label. And one thing you said to me when all of that was over, the most important takeaway moment for me is that you said, Bjorn, always have more. You said, always have more content, more music. You never want to run out of content. And that is why I work today the way that I do. So I wanted to put a face and a smile to the person who put that in my head. And I'm doing it still in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I still work to create more. Now, tell us a little bit about your record label and the time that you had and why you told me to always have more.
Absolutely. Well, my original career was in nursing. And so when you're in the medical field, you meet a lot of different people. Some people are in that field and they stay in it all their life, and other people drop in and drop out and drop in and drop out. I met a couple of young men who had just got out of the military, and they said, we're going to be rappers. They're medical assistants, right? And I was like, okay, great. Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's what everyone said, right? They said, no, we're going to start a record label. And I was like, okay, great. And I realized they were serious. And they were in the midst of creating this. They said, we're more creative people. Our business knowledge is limited. And because at that point, I'd gone from bedside nursing to being an administrator, they said, can you help us with the administration of the record label, the paperwork, the business end of it? And I said, of course. And that led to us. They said, you know what, we got to go to Atlanta, back where we're from. I'd never been to the South. Ever. And I picked up and moved. And it was interesting because before they asked me that, they showed me a movie, and I think it was called The Apostle. And it was with, I forgot the famous actor's name, but there's this one scene in there where he's going on this journey to the South to find this person that he's trying to find. And he's having hard luck along the way. And finally, he looked at what he had. He had a wallet, he had a thermos bottle, and he threw it out in the river. And he goes, you know what? I'm God's. Like, I'm just going to go where God leads me. And at the time when I saw that, it still gives me the chills now.
Yeah.
And that led to the creation of at the time it was called Divine Love Records, Divine Love Entertainment. But when you mentioned to me that I had told you, like, always have something, always have more, always have something in the pipeline, was because when the record label started and we began to create music and it was hip hop and pop music and spoken word. We had all these people providing music and beats and everything. Well, it started to be successful, and we started selling. And just like a store, if you sell out, you better have a whole warehouse of stuff to put back on the shelf. And we didn't.
Right.
We sold out, and so we learned a hard lesson from that. And so we had to spend about a year building back up the inventory. Wow. Always got to have something in the pipeline.
Wow. And you told me at the time you had gotten a distribution deal with BMG.
Correct.
Yeah. And you were like, Bjorn, they loved our music and they wanted more. And then our artists started coming out and leaving and doing this and that. And we didn't have anything more. Calvin, you changed my life.
Wow.
You changed my life.
But what also is beautiful is I know that you passed that knowledge on to others, and you changed other people's lives, and they'll pass that on to others, and on and on and on and on and on. Yeah,
Calvin,
absolutely.
Calvin, when I tell you that was a crash course in growing up fast, It doesn't matter where you come into this business. You better get in and learn as much as you can. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And when you don't know, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Like that was my attitude. And I remember sitting in this same room. I haven't moved yet. Sitting in this same room here in Northern Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia. And I'm like, things are better. You know, I can afford frocks and stuff now. But, you know, I remember listening to your story because I was like, okay, I gotta reach out to somebody that knows even remotely a little thing about this. And we got to talking, and I'm telling you what I'm trying to do. And I hadn't even had my first LLC at that time. I was in the process. I had all, and that was the crazy thing, Calvin, because see, I was one of those people where I obsessed about it. So, and I'm very meticulous. So I had, they're still on my wall. I had list of how much everything cost. You know, you got to buy the LLC, you got to buy the trademark, you got to buy this, you got to buy that. And I had it tacked to my wall with a price. And it was always, okay, this is it before taxes. This is this, that. So when I actually, after I spoke to you and your friend at that time, I literally, my grandmother gave me my first endowment. I just down the list, and it happened so quickly. It happened so quickly. I had music, I had everything. And then I realized, okay, Calvin said, I gotta have more. So then it became more so not about the music that I was releasing, but the music in the vault. I needed the music in the vault. And to this
Your
day,
vault.
yes,
Your vault.
that was the point. See, you're doing it again. My vault, my arsenal, not the labels, not this, not that, my vault. And that was what Calvin, when I tell you, you changed my life. Even with this, you know, when social media took off for me, and we both know Philando, you know Philando.
Yeah.
Talk Gay with Faye was his name on Instagram. So, you know, and that's why I'm talking to you. Knew everybody, you know everybody. Like, I want them to see the guy that has helped a lot of us. You know us. So turn around and Philando shared one of my videos. It was 15 seconds and went viral. In one night's time, I went from 10,000 followers to 22,000. I was like, I looked at my grandmother, I'm like, I need a name, you know, and she's in the hospital about to have her gallbladder out. And she's like, you're going to be the queen of shade. It was New Year's Eve, 5.5 years ago. We were in the hospital. I was sitting in the chair with my grandmother. She had some discomfort because she had to have her gallbladder out. And we're sitting there, and I knew that part. Like, okay, I need a name. I got to do this. I got to do that. My grandmother said, whatever name you choose tonight, when you get home, you have to put in for the trademark. We have to do this. We have to do this right. So she was always that voice, a sound voice for me. But even then, I just started material because of what you said to me. And Calvin, in 5.5 years, you've probably heard me say this, I have 22,000 videos. 22,000. I did not stop. I took what you said to me to such heart, because it was like, I realized something sitting here today, not then. I realized today that whether you're famous or whether you have some degree of fame, whether you're a social media influencer, whether you're a dog walker and people love you, the only thing that a customer, quote, fan, quote, supporter, whatever, the only thing they want from you is more. That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. They want more. So once you give them your best and they listen and consume that, you know, with that consumer mentality, they want more, Calvin. So tell me about how the label, you know, because you moved to Atlanta, it lasted 7 years?
Actually it lasted a little bit less than that, more like 5-ish, but
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and here's another lesson for everyone, because it was a lesson for me, trust me. So I was because of the nature of the business and the nature of the location, I was the only white person in this group. So I co-owned the label with 2 other guys, and we rented a big giant house in Southwest Atlanta, and it was so first of all, it was cultural education for me because I'd never been to the South. I was always comfortable. I have a multiracial family, so I was comfortable around all races. But I would be walking in the street. I'd leave the big house, which was offices, studio, and living quarters. I would walk down the street to the store, and I remember one time there was a telephone lineman up on the wire doing repair work, Bell South, back when Bell South was
Bell South, Calvin. Yeah.
and he looked down at me and he said, "Hey," and I looked up and he said, "Hey," and I stopped and I said, "Yes," and he said, "What the hell are you doing in this neighborhood?" And I said, "I live here." And he looked at me like I, like I was poisoned.
The plague.
So yeah. So then I realized, okay, I have to make sure to adjust my beliefs and my philosophy accordingly, and I have to block out a bunch of stuff. As you know, you have to block out tons of stuff if you're trying to be successful.
Tons.
So we had a lot of attention. We had a lot of young people coming with music, and a lot of it was great. It was really good stuff, and it was, like I said, it was hip hop. It was spoken word.
Yeah.
Well, there's the issue of music publishing.
Yeah.
Right. Because a smaller individual might sell your CDs on the street corner and actually sell them and make money.
Mm-hmm.
This is beyond that. We were trying to go to the next level.
Uh-huh.
So with music publishing, as you know, music, it isn't paid to you immediately. Royalties and stuff aren't paid immediately. There's a lag time. It could be a quarter, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. So the way that when we have the contracts with BMG Records, now mind you, I'm dealing with young Black men from the ages of, I would say, 18 to 28, a lot of them from the rural South. And so they could easily be taken advantage of. And luckily they trusted me. But so when their music started selling and they're like, "Where's my money?" And I said, "Well, you have to understand with music publishing, it's not going to come right away." Well, they wanted something now.
Right.
I said, "If you take the money now, I can give you $10,000 today, or if you wait 9 months, I can give you $45,000. Well, we all know everyone wanted their $10,000 right now.
There.
And that depleted the cash reserves of the company, and we just couldn't keep up with the cash flow and so we just, we decided that that we had a good run, and that I ended up selling the name of speaking about, copywriting and trademarking. If you ever decide not to use it, you can always sell that name. And I sold it to a record label in Amsterdam, Holland, actually.
Yep.
But that was the end result. People could not postpone gratification, and you can't expect young people, some of them financially destitute, you can't expect them to postpone gratification. So,
but you know what? I love what you said just right there. They're young people. They haven't taken business courses, Calvin.
right.
They don't understand what net 90 is, net 60, net 30. They don't understand these things. And all they know is, and you know what's sad? I got to come closer. What's sad is because a lot of it is not even them. They got to do something for their sister. They got to do something for their brother. Their mom needs a new this. She needs a new washer. She needs a new car because she's working 3 jobs to take care of the younger siblings. Like, people do not understand how the business, and it's not just of music, it's of the world works. Instant gratification is not something you get from the record business. And me being in this business, Calvin, my first LLC was disillusioned during COVID. I wasn't making enough to, sustain my expenses. And I was just like, oh my God, we had to disillusion the company. We had to just do it. And I remember I was very suicidal at that time because my attitude was, I always understood it was going to pay me on the back end.
Yeah.
I always understood that, but I thought that there would be enough to sustain me. And when there wasn't, I'll never forget how I felt. And it just, I like literally, I almost was out of here because I just was like, this is my passion. And I came to music kind of as a like a prodigal son. Like what happened was, you know, my career in college failed. I was medically withdrawn from college. I couldn't go back right away because they wanted treatment from me. But coming from a family that had mental illness running rampant through it and poverty, they didn't know anything about mental illness. So I didn't get, oh, okay, well, you need to see a doctor, you need to see a therapist, we need to make sure you have outpatient care, you know, so I didn't get any of that. So in these last 14 years, I had to make sure I was getting that. So that's where my priority was. And it was actually my psychiatrist that said to me, what are you doing with your music? You have a beautiful voice and you write music. You're talented. You need to do something with it. And that's when I first reached out to you. And it was so crazy because Calvin, I didn't even know that you had had a record label. But being as in tune as I am, I knew I need to talk to Calvin. I knew that much. Like Calvin's the person I need to talk to. And we had that conversation, and that conversation was so life-changing. Even with the dissolution of that first LLC, I was able at the beginning of this year to start another one. And what happens was I had to wait, and my friends helped me do it. I have some friends in high places now. So they helped me do it. But what I realized was I wasn't starting over. I may have had to disillusion that first company, but I wasn't starting over. I had all this content that belonged to me. My music, my videos, my this, my that. So I was able to kind of like not miss a beat, not miss a beat. But I love what you said, because the whole time, Calvin, I've been doing this, my family has been talking mad shit about me. Oh, well, he doesn't have a real job, and oh, he's not making any money. So if he's not making any money from it, it's a hobby. It's not a real job. And mind you, I'm getting up working 12 and 13 and 14-hour days at my non-job. 12 and 14-hour days. The longest I've gone is about 18 hours, literally getting up. And we talked about this. One thing about me is that I was blessed to have my connection to my ancestors and my people that have crossed over in my family. So I was getting help with the music. The music just comes to me. I hear melody, I hear words, I hear the whole song. And then I met a young lady fresh out of engineering school, and she had an impeccable ear. And she was how I was able, because I don't play any instruments. And that's something else that I'm going to get into, because once you can afford to, you should at least learn how to read music. You should, because when you're on tour, the band needs to be able to read that, and you need to be able to come in and say, okay, right here between this, I'm going to do this. So it's very helpful. But you know, I ended up, you know, forging a new company and moving forward. And, you know, I learned such a valuable lesson. And this was the thing, and I can say this because it happened. When after I spoke to you, I realized what I needed to do, got my list together, everything. I released my first song, Black Stilettos. That song is still very popular to this day over in Europe. So what happened was I met a designer out of New York City. Her name was Jacinta Ligon. And she was an amazing, amazing designer. And I was trying to get imaging, like, you know, costuming to, you know, for the first initial debut of what the Queen of Shade would be. And the funny thing was, I wasn't even the Queen of Shade then. It was just me, the artist, Bjorn Dufault. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to come to the world. And I wanted her to make me some costuming. I couldn't afford her. But we were still talking to get to she's like, well, listen, you got to give me something. You got $500, you got $800, what? And I'm like, well, I can do $500. So we started talking about, you know, just an outfit. She was an amazing designer. In the interim of talking to her, she calls me one day very excited because she heard Black Stilettos. And she said to me, she said, is that you? I said, yes, ma'am, that's me. That's my song. And then she said, I'm gonna call you right back. She calls me right back and she says to me, how would you like to be the opening act for some big names in the industry right now? and, kind of learn the business and have them, teach you and take you, and you can learn the ins and outs. I said, okay, I need to hear more, was basically what I said to her. And she said, well, the person would be Robert Kelly. And we all know Robert Kelly is R. Kelly. And then she said, well, yeah, he's trying to do something with Gaga and your music fits right in. And I said, oh, okay. And I'll never forget, Calvin, my response. And I'm so thankful for that response, but it was because I had spoken to you first. So I said to her, I said, with all due respect, Miss Ligon, I'm going to have to say no. And she was like, well, I could get him on the phone. What's going on? Why are you saying no? And I said to her these words. I said, Miss Ligon, I am not a lunchbox. I said, I did not prepare this amazing meal and struggle to get the ingredients, only for someone to come along and slap their name on the front of my lunchbox and say that they created it, they found it, and then I have to pay them a residual for the rest of my life. She got so angry with me, she slammed the phone in my ear, and I never heard from her again. And we know what happened to Robert Kelly. So, needless to say, I dodged a bullet. And looking at those instances, Calvin, you put a hush in my spirit. It was like, take your time. You taught me that if it's good, customers will come, opportunities will come, it will come to you. Don't rush it. Don't rush the process. And that is how even today, how I do my business. I've had people reach out to me about trying to pick this up, this platform, and you're interviewing interesting people that and met, and they have stories and this is that, and we'd love to. And I'm just like, I'm just going to keep doing it my way. And they're like, oh, but you're not making a lot of money. I know, but that's okay. I'm going to keep doing it my way. See, I don't care about upfront anymore. I only care about back end. I only care about back end. And you and my grandmother, I have to thank for that. I don't need instant gratification. Nothing.
And I've also, on that point, I've also told, people that feel, because it's a common human thing to want it now. That's common, that's human. But I the way that I describe it is, you can't make the river flow any faster than it's already flowing. If you're going to waste so much time getting in the river and trying to either push against it or make it flow faster, you're wasting valuable energy and valuable time. It's going to flow. There's divine timing. Yeah. There's curveballs coming in, and some of those curveballs are wrapped in manure, and some of those curveballs are wrapped in $100 bills.
Yeah.
You have to be, you have to be prepared. But that's brilliant. I love the way you describe that.
Yeah, you taught me that. Like, I had a woman say to me at the bank when I was there to do some business, she said to me, not even knowing what I did, we just started talking, and my grandmother said something about entertainment. And she said, most people don't understand how entertainment works. She said, it's a bull. And a bull has horns. And if you can get around the horns, it's smooth sailing all the way to the back. And she said, it happens on the back end. And I just smiled to myself. She didn't even know who she was talking to, what I was doing, what I did for a living. What I did for a living, or what I was trying to do. And it set the motion for everything that I'm doing. Calvin, I learned to wait. And I must admit, all my life, a young, project kid who got the opportunity to grow up in the suburbs, but felt like he was owed something. I wanted everything now. I wanted the happiness. I wanted that degree. I wanted everything. And what I didn't realize was, oh, you got to deal with all of this other stuff, but I didn't cause it. Yeah, you didn't cause it, but you still got to deal with it. Yeah. It's in your life. It's in your path. If you don't deal with it, it's going to cause you complications. And then, God forbid, you get to where you've always wanted to go and have to stop, because now you have to take time to deal with what you didn't deal with before when no one was looking. You see?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had 14 years of therapy, Calvin. So, you know, but something happened. Something happened. You even introduced me to one of your partners in the record industry that you were working with. And I remember, I never, I think you might have asked me, well, how did that go? And I just said, oh, it went good. Da, da, da. I didn't say anything, but now I'm going to tell you what happened.
Okay.
So what happened, this was 2013. What happened was I met him and he was a Black man, of course, older, you know, he knew what he was doing, or so he thought. And he listened to Black Stilettos and he saw me and my feminizing manner. And he told me, he said, listen, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to sing lower and you're going to have to put on a suit. That's what he told me, Calvin.
Oh my.
Yeah, Calvin, that's what he told me. He
Hmm.
told me, you're going to have to sing lower and you're going to have to wear suits because this is too outlandish. That's what he told
What a
me.
narrow outlook he had. What a
Yeah.
narrow outlook. I'm sorry that that went that way. I wouldn't expect that, but that's what a narrow outlook.
I'm not sorry it went that way. He wrote me later. He rescinded what he said. He did. But it taught me to stay true to me. And it also taught me that if you try to go to these mainstream companies, they're going to try to take you apart. And I didn't want to be taken apart. So I'll never forget my best friend, her name is Carol McPherson. She's also a brilliant fashion designer and singer and songwriter. And it's just amazing. Excuse me. And I'll never forget, after Black Stilettos came out, I said, she said to me, so are we going to go audition for Geffen or Columbia or, you know, any at Sony or, you know, are we going to? And I said, no, I'm not. And we had like that was like one of our first fights as being best friends because, because she was just like, what do you mean? Like, you can't do the mom and pop thing. You're going to reach millions of people. Like, you got to reach millions. You have this gift and it's got to be out there and they can help you get there faster. See, that's everybody's problem, Calvin. Faster. And I told her, no, I like the slow route. Never been Southern myself. My grandmother does originate from Georgia, but I'm a Northerner. Usually we're busybodies, and I always, all my life, anybody can tell you, I have been a blooming busybody all my life. But when it came to this, people would try to maneuver me or get around me or get me to move, and I wouldn't move. I wouldn't move. I would not move. I knew, because I had your knowledge and what you said, it gave me the beginnings of a blueprint. I knew, just be right here, stay still, do it as slow as you want to, move at your pace. And unfortunately, in mainstream music today, they don't get that opportunity. I've seen some, I've had the pleasure of speaking to, because this Queen of Shade thing is, this little Queen of Shade thing, she's quite big now, she's quite big, she's well known. So I've been privileged and honored to speak with, certain people that are mainstream. And they would tell me, oh, we may be on Instagram posting and you see us in gold and this and that and the other. But what you don't know is we were so happy to do that because, people say, well, why are you showing off your money and this, that, and the other, and that's wrong. You're going to get robbed. People can hurt you. And And what this person said to me was, we do that because we're so thankful for an opportunity to kind of play up, because we're spending 13 hours in a studio, locked in a studio, singing song after song after song, rap after rap after rap. They don't understand that we don't live these glamorous lives. We're in here making hundreds of songs for the record label's vault. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that when they want to put them out, they can go and pick. And I said recently on my platform, I'm like, listen, you may sing 100 songs to get 14 for your album. And people are still writing me about that. Like, what? I didn't know. Yes, this is a business. And I even said, even though I'm independent, I think mainstream. And you put that in me. Like literally people would be trying to move me physically forward. And I'd be like, no, I'm going to stay right here. And that was before I even had what I call the gimmick or the draw, this being the draw. This was way before I even knew that this character would even come to me or come to be. I still was like, no, I'm just going to take my time. I'm just going to take my time. No rushing, no rushing. And people would say, but you're 35, you're 37. Now I'm 39. And I'm just like, you know, things happen when they happen. Well,
Exactly.
you could have done it. You could have done it when you were younger. No, I couldn't have.
No. And I think it's key what you said was, you know, be independent, own your own stuff, own the rights to everything, but think as if you're, you know, act as if you're a big label. I think that's absolute, you know, act as if you're bigger. I think that's absolutely key. And if people that are listening to this can draw back to what I was saying about the original record company that I was involved with, if all of those young people had even half of them had said, you know what, I'm going to hold off. I'd rather wait 9 months and have $45,000 than take 10,000 today. Can you imagine the difference that would have been to happen in everyone's lives, right?
Yeah,
but,
it would have been transformative.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they're still doing it mainstream. They're still doing that to the kids today because Calvin, they're kids. They're kids.
Exactly.
They're kids. They're impressionable and you can get over on them. You can get over on them. I was speaking to someone last night who was telling me about, I'm not going to go, I'm saving it for our interview, but he was telling me about reality TV. And he was like, it's fully scripted. He was like, he's like, there's someone directing you. Now throw that glass in her face, throw the water. Like, people, you know, people don't realize that, you know, and he said, they're filling characters. You know, these people that you see, like, this is all an act. All an act. But I'll tell you one thing that's not an act. I'll tell you one thing that is real. You know, and it has been slower, but the reach, my reach, Calvin, my reach, it's way more than just, even then, it's like, because I didn't have the marketing piece. It's way more than I even imagined in the beginning. And like you were saying, these kids, when you get into the industry mainstream, you get media coaching. You get all of the image coaching. Like, there's a boardroom of people that, hi, we just signed you. Don't worry. We're going to get your look together. This is what you're going to do. Then they whisk you off the voice lessons. And, you know, like, this is what we're going to do. And this is how you're going to sound. And this is what we want from you. And, you know, the public's going to know you as this. And people don't even know that your likeness is under contract. They don't even realize that.
Can you imagine if back in your history, if you had signed with a label and they put you in a suit and told you to sing in the lower register? I mean, how miserable. How
miserable. And first I would have been miserable, but then the world would have missed an amazing, amazing opportunity. And I'm just going to say that about myself. And I mean, to have someone stand up and say, you know what? I'm not cookie cutter. I'm not perfect. My voice is strange. Hell, I'm strange. But be yourself, because I'm going to be me. Everybody else is, you know, be yourself, because everybody else is taken.
That famous quote, exactly.
You know, and the crazy thing is that my music, this is the crazy part, Calvin.
Yeah.
My music took a back seat to this. It took a back seat. I began churning out inspiration videos, kicking the ass, and, you know, this is that and the other. So then I said to myself, okay, well, we done switched from what my main goal was, which was music.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't want to get too far away from my music. But see, I didn't have a boardroom to help me do that, but it happened anyway. So as I'm doing this, and I'm like, okay, I really want them to know that I'm a recording artist. That's what I really want them to know. But they're seeing this. I learned to be flexible, Calvin. And I was like, I learned, my buddy called me a prodigy the other day. She's like, you're a
Yeah.
prodigy. She called me a prodigy. And I was like, I've heard that before. My psychiatrist has said that. My therapist has said that. But I realized,
I've said that.
yes, yes, I realized you can do it all. And that's what our young people don't understand, because they think that doing it all means chaotic. It's chaos. No, 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 no. I started with this. This took the forefront. The Queen of Shade took the forefront. Then what do? I add the music as the background to every video. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So then you heard the music, you heard me speaking, and you got this, but then you're like, what? Who is that? Then I started to get, people writing me, what's the song in the background? So then I saved everybody the trouble, because then I had to come up with, every time I posted a video, I had it already down there. This is the name of the song, and this is where you can get it. It's streaming here, it's streaming there. It became that. And, I think a lot of young people, Calvin, they get scared that they're going to get taken away from what they want to do, their passion, their drive, what they feel that they're here to do. But I also learned, be flexible, be flexible. You don't have to have it all figured out. And being young, you're not, to tell you the honest truth, they're not going to really understand it till they're about 30, 32.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're not going to really understand the real way of the business until they're about 30, 32. So coming in at 16, 17, 23, enjoy it, have fun. Hope you have a good manager, manage your money, but it's not going to really click until you're older.
Early 30s. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, even my producer said it to me. She was like, even as a producer, I couldn't get recognition or respect until I was 30 years old. She said that to me. She was just like, and she's amazing. And she was just like, when I turned 32, then there we go. Then people are looking for me and doing this and doing that. It's so crazy, because like, even I said, like, even with all of this, being who I am, there's a little known book, and I bet you've read it or heard of it, called All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Donald Passman.
I've probably read 150 books similar to that one. I can't say if I exactly read that.
Okay. Well, he was the authority on the music business. He published many editions. They're over there somewhere. I have them. Do you know, doing it my way, I reached out to Donald Passman himself. But get this, the first time he spoke to me was when I reached out to him on YouTube. Sent him my YouTube. He heard me singing. And he then, that was 2009, gave me a short list of entertainment attorneys. And then, of course, shuffling around, dealing with mental illness and trying to get it back together, and this, that, and the other, and having to come live with my grandmother, I lost that short list. So back in 2018, I wrote him again. And this time it was, look at what I've done. Look at this. Look at this. He said, I remember you. He gave me another short list of attorneys, entertainment attorneys. And the attorney that I have today was actually referred to me by the Donald Passman. It's amazing how people will respect you when you respect you. People will believe in you when you believe in you. And people will act accordingly, and even, such as yourself, conspire to help you if they see that you have any inkling of being coachable.
And I want to make a comment about that regarding financing, right? Because if you're doing it yourself, you still need resources.
Yes.
That's just a fact of modern life, right? When we started getting the record company together, we were seeking financing, individual business loans, whatever we could get. we went, and that entailed, when you're asking for large amounts of money, you don't just fill out a loan application. You have to meet with the banker and meet with the loan committee when they're giving out, large amounts of money, or loaning out, not giving out. So the first place we went in San Francisco, we were talking before we went into the meeting, and we were all just like, we had no confidence. We were just like, oh my God, we know they're going to say no, and they're going to take a look at us, and they're just, it's going to be awful. And so we went in, and mind you, I'm a white guy.
Yeah.
I self-identify as a gay man.
Yeah.
I have 2 young Black men that were younger than me, and then we had a third person who was on our board of directors, and he was handicapped. He had polio as a child, so he had a limp. So when we went in there, and we're all just like waiting for them to come in, the loan committee came in, and they talked to us, and then everyone left the room except for one individual. And I'm going to tell you, this was Wells Fargo Bank, and this is why you're about to understand why I would never do business with that bank again. The guy said, he goes, you haven't convinced me. Why should I do business with a faggot, 2 N-words, and a cripple? Yeah. So we walked out of there just crushed, demoralized. But that taught us, the next time we asked for a loan, it was like we spent hours just pumping each other up and building up. So when we walked in there, our vibe was like if you don't give us this loan, you're going to be missing out, because we're going to be able to pay this loan back early. So we went in with a different mentality. Boom, $100,000 business loan. There you go.
Yep.
So even if you're doing it yourself and you feel like you're alone, or you just have 1 or 2 teammates, and it's all about the vibe you give off. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. And it changed all of our lives, but it was all about how we felt about ourselves.
Calvin, I can attest to that, because even as the Queen of Shade, my confidence has evolved, and now it's so rare that I even take those meetings, because people are trying to give me money, but I'm like, baby, what's the interest rate? Why? I'm doing all right, because see, my thing is, I always say I'm doing all right because I can cover my expenses. Yeah. Everything that I'm putting out, I can get right back. I haven't crossed over into disposable income yet, but everything that I'm doing, I'm sustaining. So I don't mind what I'm doing. So I look at people and I'm just like, it's the same thing with my grandmother's car. My grandmother, when she went, now mind you, she's a teacher, Calvin. So, that's not a lot of money, but she was good with money. She had IRAs. She took me to the bank, and I'll never forget her. Now she's retired, so this is fixed income, Calvin. She took me to the bank and withdrew $90,000 out of her IRA. Wow. And gave it to me, Calvin. And gave it to me. And at that time, I looked at her and I said, I'm not sure that I can pay this back. I'm not sure that I will make it. I'm not sure. I had to get real with her, and she said to me, I've seen you work. She said, I'll get it all back. And literally the bank man, he's looking at us like, what's going on here? You're taking all this money out of our bank where it was safe to give to him, but he kept his mouth shut. But to this day, my grandmother is my biggest supporter and benefactor. But what happened with the first business was that we had to disillusion it, because it was becoming too much for her to bear. She was like, it's just because music, this is a money pit. It's a money pit. It's a money pit. It's a money pit. So she was like, I can't continue this and keep us afloat, keep the lights on, keep food, I gotta let it go. And I was devastated. I was angry. We fought for a long time behind it. I'm like, I'm close to success and you just, pulled a rug out from under me. And we fought it out. We yelled, the betrayal was there. And then we came right back together. And what I didn't realize was that when I opened my mouth and said, I need help, my supporters sent me money to do what I needed to do. My best friend paid me thousands of dollars for a mentorship program that I offered that he didn't need. And I just was like, why are you doing this? And he's like, because you need it. So I'm going to book you for mentoring and we're going to talk like we always talk, but I'm going to pay you to talk. And that's what he did. Yeah. And it literally helped me get my wings back the whole year to where I'm in a better position now. And I've had a lot happen behind the scenes. I've got a Hollywood insider who can't stand me, who has tried to block me for 14 years. But I'm still doing what I'm doing. And that person hasn't understood that your tenacity to try to stop me in 14 years cannot match my tenacity to get by you, to destroy, and to clear my way. I am going to mop the floor with that person because I am dedicated to me. I know who I am and I know what I can do. And my thing is, you don't mess with someone for 14 years if they are not somebody.
Absolutely.
So I didn't feel what I was supposed to feel, like, oh, I should stop. And this is, I felt like he is trying to tell you that you are a real serious threat. So you better keep going. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's been quite a journey. There are stories.
I have a question for you that I wanted to ask. What do you do when people compare you to other performers who in a complimentary way, like it's someone they admire and they say, oh, Queen of Shade is like so-and-so. And the reason I asked that is because I told a couple of friends that we were having this interview and both of the friends who don't know each other said, oh, Queen of Shade, she reminds me of the Black Lady Gaga.
Oh no!
Both of them said that, and I was like, well, now that you mention it, and not in the sense of performance, but in the sense of being extremely unique, being a hard worker. I saw how hard you used to work back in the day. Like you would barely eat or sleep,
Yeah.
And you were just constantly working, and you were always unique costumes, unique makeup, and I just thought unique voice, and I was like, now that you mention it, well, no wonder they said that. But it's in a total complimentary way, though. How do you feel about that kind of stuff?
Guess what?
What?
The R. Kelly situation was for me to go and open for him and Lady Gaga.
Ah.
Yeah. I love Lady Gaga. And what I love about her is her love of fashion. I started as a fashion girl. I was a model in Paris, 22 years old,
I remember.
So she brought to the forefront the way that the fashion community behaves. This is what we do. This is what they're like. I love going to a show in Paris and you see all the poodle ladies. They got their dogs and one side of their head is black, one side is white. We bring it out here and everybody thinks it's amazing, but to them, it's just another poodle lady. It's not, it doesn't have that same allure.
Yeah.
But when people say like, oh, Lady Gaga, I am flattered. Because once again, I'm being compared to a successful mainstream artist. So if you tell me that you're looking at me and you see a polished artist, I'm over the moon, because that's what you want the respect of. You want to walk in somewhere and somebody goes, are you performing tonight? Are you tonight? Is this, and they're looking at you like, who are you? And I have that. I stopped going places because I got that a lot. It was like I didn't have a protection detail. So I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta be careful. But it's so crazy because even now when I do this, I shut my curtains and I lock my door and, I do this and it broadcasts over the internet. But one day the world is going to get a dose of this in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And to be compared to her and all the success, I love what she just did. Well, she didn't just do it. She did it with Gucci. But before that, she did an album with Tony Bennett that was amazing. I admire her range. Yeah. Her range. And I mean that as a double entendre, her range when she sings and her range as an artist. Like she belongs in the fashion community and she knew it. She knew it. She knew exactly where she belonged. She didn't care about her height, anything. She's a fashionista. And nobody can touch her. Every single time she comes out, it's stunning. It's stunning. Absolutely. And then, like you said, she's a hard worker. I'll never forget when I saw a portion of her documentary and she was performing and she went backstage. It was before she went on, actually. And she was singing with her backup singers, who were Black, mind you, because Stephanie has that kind of voice. Like she has a very soulful, very powerful voice. So turn around and she's singing with them and they're getting the blend right. And then she starts crying and she says, I still feel like a nobody.
Oh, how interesting.
But she was willing to share that with us. She was willing to be so vulnerable. And I just was like, wow, because I think that is something that I've learned. Be real, be vulnerable, be yourself, be yourself. We're all inspired by someone. You know, my inspirations, I'm glad you brought her up, but my inspirations are Josephine Baker, Diana Ross, and Donna Summer, Madonna, I'm looking at all the greats, Mariah, I'm looking at all the greats, Maya, I love Maya, Monica, Brandy, I'm looking at all these women. Then I go to Patty and who was it? Gladys Knight. So I'm all over the place. But that actually helped me when I was doing YouTube, because it gave me such a broad catalog to pick from to sing songs. I remember singing Madonna's Frozen, and I remember doing those things, and then Beyonce and Whitney, and it was fun. And then they changed their policy to where you can't do covers anymore. So I was like, okay, can't do covers anymore. So got to do something else. No, guess it's time for me to do my own thing. And this was years in the making. Years and years and years in the making. And it is so good to know that the beauty outside matches the beauty inside. The garden, my garden of silence and solitude, my garden is beautiful inside because I've worked on it. I've tilled the ground. And you're right, I haven't eaten anything today. This is my second interview. I have one more. I will eat. I got food. My grandmother brought me fried chicken wings. I got chicken wings and she got me French fries, and because it's the weekend, so it's cheat meal day, So, I have one more after you, and I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to snatch this wig off, snatch these glasses off, snatch this dress off, put on my house robe, because I don't wear clothes in my house. I just pajamas. I go out to the store in pajamas, and people say to me, you came out of your house like that? And I always say to them, Calvin, I'm like, if you knew what I did for a living, you wouldn't even care. I wear so many frocks, so many dresses, I'm like, and I say to them, if you knew what I did for a living, you'd leave me alone. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, well, what do you do for a living? And then I'm like, Instagram, I am the queen of shade. And then they're like, oh my God, that's you. I love that compliment. My God, that's you. I called my technical support team for my website the other day because we were having some technical difficulty. Somebody was messing with some things and we had to figure out how they did it, and how to undo it, but also how to catch them. You got to do that. So turn around and you get different technical support representatives, and every single support representative I I would smile from ear to ear because they go in the back way through the back door of your website.
Yeah.
So they get to your landing page and I'm standing in white, my hair is blowing and I'm standing there and they're like, excuse me, I don't mean to ask you any questions like this, but is that you? I'm like, yes, that's me. And then they start going through the website. And I had a girl say to me, she said, your voice. Like I literally heard her hit the music and start hearing it. And she said, your voice. And she said to me, she said, compared to you, I sound like a man. And I said, no, you don't. I said, you have a beautiful voice. You're a woman. And she said, I'm your #1 fan now. I'm your #1 fan. And get this, I got excited, not as a celebrity or a person of notoriety. I got excited as a businessman, because if this is happening with you, this is the ones and twos. When I really get some real good exposure, this is what's going to happen. So I use it as kind of like a learning table. I was like, okay, this is what and every single person that goes on my website, they're like, you built this website? I'm like, yes, I built this website. And they're like, and that's you, all the pictures? I'm like, yeah, that's me. And they're just like, oh, wow, like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. You know, I truly believe that when you spend time building something the right way, no one can take it down but you. And I've had people try and they've been unsuccessful. You can't take me down because you didn't build me. You didn't build me.
I love that quote. I love that quote.
Yeah, you didn't build me. If you had, it can be 3 words or a phrase that you could give to aspiring entertainers or just in life about keep going or knowing that they're going to need resources, what would it be? What would you say?
That's a good one. I think that it would center around it would be two phrases. You cannot make the river you can't make the river flow any faster than it's flowing. Don't waste your time on that. And the other thing I would say is, we all know that tomorrow is not promised, but it's so strongly implied, it fakes you into thinking tomorrow is promised when it's really not. And you've got to balance those 2 things. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Thank you
for coming on here and talking
to
me. And you, Calvin, you are just the best. Everyone knows you. And now the people are going to know that I know you.
Yeah.
And, it's just, I hope that you just understand how influential you are and how you've helped so many Black men. Really, Calvin, I would have never thought the way that I do if it had not been for you.
I appreciate you telling me that, because I know if I've helped one person, I've helped many people, and everyone that I helped, including yourself, will pass that on and pay it forward to others
exponentially. You are amazing. And now
thank you
the whole world is going to know. So ladies and gentlemen, you have met Mr. Calvin Coates. I will talk to you very soon.
All right. Thanks for the love. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.